I'm Bambi Francisco with Vader News, and I'm here with John Battelle, founder, CEO, chairman of Federated Media. John, thank you for joining me.
Good to be here.
You're in the process of finding a new CEO in the middle of a very robust process. You said, how is it going?
Very well. I'm actually surprised. You don't know what's going to happen when you make an announcement like this, and I did make a very studied decision, having gone through this before, and trying to sort of keep it a secret, which is generally what you do. You retain a recruiter, and you tell your senior people and keep your mouth closed. And I decided that in today's world, there's really no point to that because everyone ends up knowing anyways. So I posted it on our blog, and I didn't really know what was going to happen. I had a very clear idea of the type of person I was looking for. I didn't know that there were so many of them that were out there in the world. So we're having some really interesting conversations, and it's helping me understand the business better.
Do you have a short list, and what are the characteristics you're looking for?
Not yet. We're still early in the process. Really, just a few weeks ago, right before our CM Summit earlier this month, did we announce it. There's a lot of people that we want to talk to, but yeah, I have a pretty clear idea of the kind of person. FM has gotten to a certain size and scale, and as I said in the post when I announced it, there is a set of skills that you need to have in order to grow a business from where we are in the sort of mid-8 figures of revenue to where we want to be, and where I think all of us see a huge opportunity. And that requires an executive who has a passion for growing and managing businesses. So moving from what you might call a classic startup stage to a classic growth stage. And that is where I think a lot of companies stumble. And I know that that's where we stumbled at the industry standard, for example. And I want to bring someone in who's got the experience in making that transition.
You mentioned the next level. What is the next level for FM? You raised $50 million last year. You generated about $40 million last year already. You're probably getting to the point where you might actually look good for an acquisition. There have been a number of acquisitions. We just talked about that earlier, about in the several $100 million range.
Yeah.
What's the next
level?
I
think we're really motivated to go prove the business out. Whatever else might come, we'll listen, but it's kind of not the goal. If that were the goal, I probably wouldn't be looking for this person, right? It's more that we see a very, very large business developing in understanding how to execute marketing and social media at scale with quality. That is a very, very difficult ocean to boil, and we have been in that space for quite a while. Starting with really high-quality blogs, moving into high-quality applications on Facebook and high-quality community-driven sites, high-quality executions that we build with partners, and with those partners can be publishers that are in our network. They can be sites like Twitter or Six Apart, or they could be pure sort of marketing as publishing executions, like what we've done with American Express. But how do you do that at scale? And in a way that engages an audience and a publisher or sets of publishers in an ecosystem that feeds everyone, so to speak. That is what publishing is. And trying to imagine what publishing is in the context of social media is just a phenomenally interesting problem / opportunity. But while I'm kind of deeply intellectually engaged in that question, there's a really important company here to run as well, and so I can get lost in that question and forget that I've got management reviews and MBOs and people's careers to worry about and partnerships to take care of and so on. I broke down my work life in January of 2008 and saw that I was working 60, 70, sometimes more hours a week. And the amount of time that I was spending running the business was about 30% of my time. And the rest of the time I'm out in the field talking to clients, trying to stay smart in the market, trying to be, aware of where the next possible shift is happening.
And you love that stuff.
And I love that. That's what I've been doing my whole career. So I want to do more of that, and I want this company deserves a really high-quality executive to run it.
Right, right. Tell you a little bit about, you talked about how you've served bloggers, you're serving a whole different constituent base right now. So you've been doing this since 2004, probably when advertising was doing really well. Now we're in an advertising recession.
Yeah.
What are signs are you seeing as you look at your whole ecosystem? What are signs, or if any, that the advertising market is going to turn around, and what are they?
We grew through this period. Mm-hmm. I'm knocking wood right now. Mm-hmm. And so that was good. Did we grow as much as we thought we were going to? No. So we saw as much pain as I think we saw a fair amount of pain as did everyone. What we're seeing now in the sort of end of the second quarter, beginning of the third quarter of this year, is a return to robust conversations about what can we do together, and a strong pipeline of business that really there were moments, November, December, January, where we didn't know whether we were going to have to recast the business as half the size that we currently were at,
There's hope on the horizon.
No, there is definitely more activity and more business.
Now, you've built a business around blogs, serving blogs, a number of blogs. You had a number of high-profile blogs. You've actually nurtured them to, until they became a big enough size. Often they leave. Is this the biggest challenge for an advertising network that doesn't own the properties?
It's certainly something that you have to think about when you enter into a relationship, right? But we have core sites that we work with that we worked with a really long time, and we have core sites that we brought in recently that we hope we will be working with for a very long time, like Serious Eats or Apartment Therapy in women's interest, for example. But there's always going to come a time when you part ways with a site. If your approach to the market, which is our approach, is that you don't want to own and operate or dictate and control, there are going to come times when, after 4 years, one site owner might say, "I'm done. I want to cash out. I want to sell to somebody." We're not in the business of buying those sites. And others where, frankly, the business models just don't align anymore, and they want to go into an endemic market where they want to sell very specific advertisers that aren't national brand advertisers, which is where we focus. So we always expect some level of churn, and it's not a good or a bad thing. It's just a thing. It's part of our business.
Part of your model.
It really is part of our model, and what was hot last year won't necessarily be hot next year, and so we have a very fluid portfolio to the way that we bring sites on, and sometimes we have relationships with sites that are simply for convenience for a particular campaign or set of programs.
Would you consider owning properties like the model, like a demand media model?
I think the answer to that is yes, we'll consider it, but it wouldn't be necessarily in a way that you might normally think of owning a site. In other words, would we own a site like we have a whole portfolio of business sites? Would we own just one business site? Probably not, right? We don't want to own one and have 10 others that we don't own.
But you would consider
owning
a portfolio
or owning an asset that might feed that whole portfolio. So if you think about it a little differently, there are assets that one might own that could nurture and feed all the rest of your publishing partners, right? And so that's a different owned and operated approach, right?
Is that something on the table that you're seriously considering, or that you'll let the executive kind
of
take that one on?
We'll see. Certainly something that I've given a lot of thought to.
You brought in $40 million in sales last year. Where's that tracking in 2009?
We're looking right now to be up. I think
that's good.
Yeah.
Because flat is the new up. Right?
Flat's the new up, so we're a little up from the new up. We don't, until forced by some market situation, we don't discuss numbers, but we will be up from where we were last year, and I think in a happy way.
20%, 30%.
We're going to be up, happily up, I think is the way to put it at this point. And you know what? I think anyone you ask this question of in June doesn't really know, because in a market like the one we're in right now, Q4 is a very important market.
Yeah, that's an important one. It's always been for advertising.
It's always been for advertising, in this case even more so.
Yahoo shut down its video ad networking service after just buying Maven Networks for $160 million last year.
They seem to have done something like that before. What was that Mark Cuban purchase they made?
Yeah, they do a lot of that, right? But this is interesting. It's video, it's ad networks, it's something that Federated's not in, maybe something Federated doesn't want to get involved in. But what's the future in Federated and video ad networks?
Well, you know, we've never really seen ourselves as an ad network per se, right? I mean, we're more a, you know, a collection of high-quality sites that we work very closely with to bring to market. And you know, it has a, you can say it's an ad network, but oftentimes when you look at ad networks, video ad networks included, what you're really talking about is direct response networks, not branding environments. And so in video, I think that the models are still being worked out for how you do branding in video at scale. And so we do work with Next New Networks, and we work with a few other Boing Boing Video and some other video sites. We're finding consistent revenue streams in those environments are difficult to come by right now, especially in this environment. I do believe they will come back because video is so engaging, but figuring out what the ad products are and how they interact with the content is a problem yet to be solved.
Okay, John. Thanks for this first part of our interview. You can stick around. I've been speaking with John Battelle. He's the founder, chairman, and CEO of Federated Media, and he will join me for another interview about the evolution in advertising. I'm Bambi Francisco.